Good evening. Extending a warm welcome to you to join in today's live session. The live session today is about hair health, and we are addressing one specific topic about hair health, which is called as graying of hair. Hair turns white, or as we like to call it, gray. So people do have gray hair, and this gray hair not just makes them look older than they are, but then the gray hair also looks much more untidy than the normal hair. So the gray hair is a different hair, and people generally do not like it when there is an appearance of gray hair, and people use all kind of cover up techniques like hair color or hair dyes, as you may call it, to cover up this gray hair. And unfortunately, the age of people graying is becoming earlier and earlier, more than ever. Now we see young children, school going children, also having hair graying. And of course, after the age of 30 or 40, it's pretty common to see people have hair graying. In fact, there is some study that was published by dermatologists that said that by the time you're of age 50, more than 50% of people will have 50% of their hair volume turned gray. So there is that kind of a study which talks about how extensively this graying is increasing in both men and women all over the world. So today we are going to talk about why this graying happens, what are the things you can do about graying, and more important than that, today I am going to tell you the common myths around graying, and I think that's really important. So I have realized that there are so many myths in the mind of people when it comes to beauty and wellness, and because of these myths there are two things which are happening which I absolutely do not want you to go through. One is, because of these myths you are feeling very stressed. So this incomplete knowledge, you must have heard this, but then somehow we don't realize this half knowledge is dangerous. Knowledge is power, but then the paradox is that half knowledge is dangerous. So since in the field of beauty and wellness, I see loads and loads of people have very little knowledge, and they somehow do not accept that they have half knowledge, but at the back of their mind they do know that they do not have enough knowledge, because they see that somebody says something and somebody else says something. So because of having this half knowledge, they are constantly in stress, or they are constantly in inaction. So half knowledge leads to stress, stress leads to cortisol, and cortisol leads to compromise in your beauty, or cortisol leads to early aging. So when we talk about beauty, we are saying that beauty is about youthfulness, and the reason we are saying this is not because youth is better than old age or anything. Every age has its charm, every age has its positives, but here by young we are talking about young at a cellular level, young in energy, young in enthusiasm, young in health, young in immunity power. So we want younger cells, we want healthier cells. That is the reason we are glorifying youth so much, because youth is, to you and me, it is synonymous with better health. So then we will talk about reducing the stress for you at all levels. We will be talking about a lot of stress management techniques, not in today's video, but as a part of my conversations. Yes, I like to talk about stress coping techniques. In fact, I have created a Healthy Hair Forever Masterclass, which is a by invitation only program. It is a learning series of over 5 hours of content which talks about the various aspects of hair and how you can be empowered in taking right decision of hair, in which I have one chapter which is absolutely focused on stress, which is focused on what are the mechanisms that are, what are the best practices that are used for you to deal with stress. So yes, one of my conversations with you will definitely be about dealing with stress, but right now I am going to just burst the bubble. I'm going to take away certain myths from you regarding graying of hair, because I know that when I empower you with the facts, and when you are no longer clouded by the myths, you're going to feel much less stressful. And that's my intention for you, because when you're less stressed, you will be in better health. Also, when you're less stressed, you will take action. So these myths may not be good news. So dispelling myths or bursting a bubble always need not be good news. I might tell you something in today's conversation that may make you feel, oh, so does that mean that I will have to live with it? That might happen, because I am going to tell you the truth and just the truth. I'm going to tell you what is scientific, what is proven, and what you need to know, what is my responsibility to make you know. Sometimes it may be how awesome is that and how incredible is that, and some other times it may be, oh, so I will have to accept this. So whichever side we go to, whether we hear something, an awesome breakthrough, or we hear something where we have to accept something, I think both of them are welcome, because unnecessarily living with half expectations, living with half knowledge, taking half action, and in this half action not getting results, getting frustrated, that is the space I see a lot of people today. Because today there is no lack of information. On the contrary, there is information overload. There are so many different schools of thought, and different schools of thought sometimes say different things. And whose school of thought is right? So here I would like to put forward a very, very important point, that no single school of thought may be absolutely right. In fact, as we grow, as we gather knowledge, as we become present to wisdom, which is one step above knowledge, we realize that there are hardly any rights and wrongs, but then you got to take a stand. So you have to go with one school of thought, and you have to follow everything in that school of thought to make a difference. What I typically see people do is people pick and choose different things from different schools of thought. So they may pick and choose one ingredient from the Ayurveda, one ingredient from the naturopathy, one ingredient from the allopathic or the modern school of medicine, but they will not completely immerse themselves into understanding one school. So though I'm not against it, if I had to have my way, I would give my 100%. I would go deep into one science. I would go deep into the understanding according to one school of thought. I would know what exactly to do, what not to do, and how long to do it, and what to expect. And then I would surrender to that learning, and I would cause a difference in my life and a lot of other lives. So that my thing is, always get a complete picture, always get a complete understanding, and then surrender to that learning for however long it takes. And I'm sure that you will see progress, you will see results, because anything, when you are in consistent action, the chances of you getting progress is very, very, very high. There is hardly anybody who does not get progress when they are consistent and persistent. So coming to premature graying of hair. So first and foremost, I would like to use the term premature graying versus graying of hair. So commonly people say, I have premature graying, can you help me? So first I will define this premature graying for you. So premature is when you're really, really young and you still have graying of hair. So that is up to the age of 25. So according to textbooks, aging begins at the age of 25. And if you have gray hair in your teenage, or if you have gray hair in your early 20s before you're 25 years old, the doctor would still diagnose it as a premature graying. But then if your graying has started post 25 or in your 30 or in your 35, then that is not taken as premature graying, that is taken as early aging. So you may have, so this is the first myth. People feel that, you know, once upon a time they feel that people would get gray in the 50s, or you know, obviously we all feel very, very young, and today people feel young in their 50s and their 60s also. So then gray hair is something that kind of dampens them, and when they start seeing a gray hair, it is quite annoying, because some people associate it with aging, which is true but not completely true. Gray hair is not a symbol of unhealthiness, which I am definitely going to tell you what are the three main reasons you do have gray hair, but somewhere it can be put under natural aging or natural changes at a cellular level. So your hair is essentially white, but there is some pigment called as melanin, like the skin has melanin pigment, and in the skin we want the right amount of melanin. Over melanin in the skin is going to give us hyperpigmentation. Similarly, we need some melanin in the hair, and because of certain reasons, when the melanin in the hair is less, then it causes hypopigmentation. So that is known as hyperpigmentation, where there is more melanin, and in the hair it causes hypopigmentation. Rather, we don't even call it hypopigmentation in the medical science, because hypopigmentation means less pigment. So the white dots on the skin sometimes are known as hypopigmentation, but the hair, there is no pigment at all. So if you look at a gray hair, which is technically not gray, which is technically white, but since it's interspersed with all the black hair and you have this salt and pepper look, we call it the gray hair. So this white hair is devoid of melanin, which is the color giving pigment to the hair. That's the only change that's happened to the hair. Otherwise, the hair is not unhealthy at all. And for some reason, when the hair starts turning gray, because of the absence of this melanin, even the quality of the hair or the texture of the hair kind of changes. So people who have a lot of gray hairs must have seen that the hair becomes a little more dry, a little more frizzy, a little more unruly. So taking care of gray hair is definitely a greater responsibility. It probably breaks more easily, and the look of a gray hair, of course, there are gorgeous looking men and women with salt and pepper hair. There are gorgeous looking men and women with all gray hair, but then it takes a special kind of care. So before we start taking special kind of care for our gray hair, if those of you who have a lot of grays, I think the beginning starts with an acceptance. There is nothing right or wrong about a gray hair. Probably till a particular age, we have all had a certain color of hair, and when it starts turning gray, it might just not be comfortable for us, because obviously we are used to a certain kind of a look. But yes, gray hair can be managed very well. You can choose whether to color it or not color it. You can use the products that keep the hair hydrated, and you can look absolutely incredible. So like we say, you don't have to be perfect to be awesome. You can be absolutely awesome even in your grays. So coming back to saying that the first myth is people who are getting grays in their 30s and people who are getting grays in their late 30s saying that it is premature graying. No, it is not premature graying. Aging, even the skin aging signs begin by 25. So it can be called as a regular graying, or it can be called as a early graying, but it cannot be called as a premature graying. Now second myth is, there is a myth, I don't know where the origin of this myth from. There is a myth that says that if you break a hair, if you pluck a gray hair, so all of you who have gray hair know that when that first gray hair appeared, your first temptation was to pluck it off. So you would just hold it and you would pluck it off. So then, does plucking of hair make it double? So a lot of people, somebody would have definitely told you, okay, don't pluck this gray hair. If you pluck this gray hair, then 2 hair, or some people say 3 hair, from every root that you pluck a hair, you will get 2 hair or 3 hair. That is what people say about gray hair. Now, is that true? Absolutely not. If you could just pluck a hair and 2 hair or 3 hair or multiple hair could come out of plucking a hair, isn't that a brilliant idea? So people who had less hair or people who are struggling with less density would just start plucking all their hair, and by plucking all their hair they would densify it. So it is absolutely illogical. It is just that when you start getting gray and when you start plucking out your gray, you realize that your hair, you are paying so much more attention to the hair, that now because your focus is on that hair, and wherever your focus is on whatever is bothering you, even 1 or 2 changes there start seeming to you as something that is disturbing to you. So when people say, after I started plucking my hair, I started seeing more number of hair come, it is because, one, you're paying attention, and those small changes also you're kind of measuring and reviewing it, and you are feeling bad about it, you're getting emotional about it. That is one of the reasons why people feel that, but that has no scientific basis. That is not true at all. The same thing applies to coloring of hair. In fact, I know loads and loads of people say that I started getting gray hair, and after I started coloring it, I realized that the amount of grays just kept increasing. Now, is that even possible? No, that is not possible either, because what happens when you start coloring your hair and you start feeling that the grays have increased? I would give you 3 reasons why people feel this, and they so strongly feel this. So one of the reasons, like I rightly told you, is when you start paying attention to your hair, when you start looking, then you start feeling that even those small imperfections, they are right in your face. You're more alert and aware of them. That is why you start feeling now it is more than before. That is reason number one. Reason number two is when you start coloring your hair, you use a nice looking color, or even if you're using a black color, so there is more density to the color. There is the color, the hue of the color is a lot more attractive. So what happens is when you start coloring your hair and some of the gray start showing, so it starts showing as more prominent because of the contrast. So generally when you have a little, not a very pop colored hair, even people who color their hair black, after the color it does look a little different, and before the color the black is a little different. So when you have that contrast you have created with the color, and even one or two grays start showing, those grays start looking a lot more prominent, or the contrast is a lot higher than with a non-colored hair, and that is why you become even more conscious or even more alert about hair turning grey. But no, coloring of hair cannot make hair more grey. And one more reason, or the third reason which I need to tell you, is that you have started graying. So the process of graying has already started in the body. So as you start coloring, on one end you're covering that process with a color, but what is happening is the graying or the aging in your body is continuing, and because of this aging in your body continuing, yes, more grays are increasing. But this grays increasing is definitely not because you're coloring your hair. It's a natural progression of your hair graying. So these are three myths that we have spoken about up till now. I hope that they made some sense to you. So these myths are not something that probably made you happy, because with this myths I did, with these myths being, the bubbles of these myths being burst, I just told you that we need to be accepting of certain things, and sometimes that is also a very powerful conversation. Like, we got to change what we can change, and we got to accept what we cannot change. So if you are graying and if you are around 30 years of age, you will have to accept it. Yes, you can slow it down. I will come to that point too. But then there are very, very poor studies where it comes to slowing down of graying. So I wouldn't want you to invest too much time, money, or too much of your emotions into reversing that graying, because that graying may not get reversed. If you feel like if it's right in the front and you haven't got time to color your hair, or it is bothering you, you can take a scissor and you can snip it off so that it doesn't look ugly. Don't worry at all. Cutting off a gray hair is not going to give you multiple new hair, but generally it's recommended that don't pull a hair and tug it off like that, because many times pulling a hair and tugging it off like that can damage the roots of the hair. And forget the gray hair, no hair may come back in that area, which is also known as losing hair through traction. So I wouldn't want you to break a gray hair, because it is damaging to the scalp, it is damaging to the hair roots. But otherwise, even if you break a hair, you're not going to get 2 or 3 gray hair back in that place. Also, it's a much better idea to take a small scissor and to trim if you have 2 or 3 hairs only. You know, suppose there's one gray hair which is showing, and which is kind of, that one gray hair is an eyesore, I can cut it off and it will just grow back as gray again, of course, but nothing else is going to happen to the rest of my hair. So this is one empowering conversation you and I had, and this is proven all over the world. So then please do not again keep thinking what to do and what not to do, because a lot of time is wasted in these dilemmas. Also, if you need to color your hair, if you think that you do not want to sport your grays, you think that you have started graying too early, and that's not the kind of personality you want to carry. It is absolutely safe to color your hair. Please make sure that you use a standardized hair color. Please make sure that you do not use those so-called herbal hair colors. So whatever we use something which is standardized, which has a proper food or drug license to it, where whatever those things are being used are well researched and well presented. So that is much easier than going for something which is natural but half the ingredients in that concoction are unknown. So I have seen people come up with more harm to their hair, more harm to their scalp, using preparations which were called natural, but which were a combination of natural and very harsh synthetics. So very strongly I will say that known devil is better than something that is unknown. So hair color, it might have its own So whatever you're using that is chemical in nature, that could have its own some kind of a negative effects, but still, since you know about it and since you know the extent of damage that it can do, so the extent of damage a hair color can do to your hair is very very little. So I would still want you to go ahead with that known level in case you feel that you have to color your hair. Again, if you have to color your hair, do not bleach your hair before coloring it, because a lot of people are using colors which are not blending with the hair color, which is absolutely fine and it looks very cool also. But then what you have to do is you have to bleach the hair first. You have to remove the pigment from the hair. You have to remove this melanin pigment from the hair, and after which you have to add color to the hair. So then adding a coat of color to the hair is not a bad idea, as long as you are doing it from a standard company. Remember, even a known devil is better than something that's absolutely unknown. But then if you're bleaching the hair and if you're robbing it of the melanin, then the chances of the hair looking gray or making you look all the more white are a lot more. So I strongly say that do not bleach the hair before adding a new color. Well, if you love it and if you want to do it, you can, but I would not want you to do it at a much regular level. Of course, I believe in living life king size, queen size. Do whatever you feel like. In fact, a very interesting conversation I had a female who had come to me for her hair treatment, and she used to regularly blow dry her hair. She used to regularly style her hair. She used to regularly color her hair. And she said that she gave up on her previous doctor and she chose me. And I said, why did you give up on your previous doctor? Was the previous doctor not good? So she told me the name of the previous doctor. And the previous doctor is a very big name in the industry, and she gives very good results. She's very knowledgeable. So I did tell her that the doctor you were going to is a very big name in the industry. She has created so many success stories. She is so knowledgeable. So why did you decide to not go with that doctor and change your doctor? So she said that my doctor tells me not to blow dry my hair, not to chemically style my hair, not to color my hair. So if I can't flaunt my hair, what is the use of having good looking hair? So she definitely has a point there. So if you feel that you want to play with your hair, a lot of people, so I think females who use a lot of products on their hair and who style their hair and who get this huge high of creating different looks with their hair, they absolutely understand when I use this word of playing with your hair. I know a lot of my friends who play with their hair, and it's so much fun to them and it creates such amazing looks. So yes, if you want to play with your hair, I do not want to be the strict teacher who says not this, not this, not this. In fact, when you are my client at Skin Sense, my aesthetic clinic, I generally have a very small list of don'ts, because I believe that we need to strengthen ourselves, we need to empower ourselves, we need to make ourselves healthy at a cellular level so that we can withstand all this musty that we want to do, rather than having an approach that don't do this and don't do this. So yes, you can do anything to your hair as long as you take responsibility of being healthy at a cellular level so that your hair roots are healthy. Also, you pamper your hair a little. Of course, if you're expecting your hair to bear the brunt of all these things, you got to pamper your hair a little. So you got to be fair, you know. You can't just have like, I will take things for granted. So like, you can't take relationships for granted, you can't take your own body for granted, you can't even take your own hair for granted. So the point was, yes, go ahead and color your hair, but then I gave you like a small friendly advice that also totally depends on you whether you want to take it, that do not bleach before coloring, because that may be a little harsh. If you're very fond of using those crazy colors, then do them once in a while. Also, most of you know this, but sometimes I think it's quite okay to repeat what everybody knows, because even if one more person is listening to something that works and it adds value to them, it's worth it. So do not use a shampoo containing sulfates. Use a sulfate free shampoo, especially if you're using color to your hair. Everybody must use a sulfate free shampoo, but if you're somebody who's using color on your hair, you must definitely use a sulfate free shampoo, for the simple reason that when you do not use extremely lathering or extremely strong shampoos on your hair, your color is going to last a lot longer and the longer your color lasts, you will have to not go for recoloring very often. Even if your hair growth is very fast and you start seeing grays, you may just be able to cover them with your touch up. The luster or the beauty of your hair color, if you're using very harsh shampoos, that will go away and leave your hair dull. So like we learnt in school, so generally now that I'm having these live conversations with you, I tend to remember school proverbs or school quotes a lot. And then I realized that, you know, at school it all seems so funny, but we all make these common mistakes in our lives. So the proverb I want to talk about right now is called as penny wise and pound foolish. So you would realize that spending so much money to color your hair, being so hassled about the color of your hair and your hair getting damaged and your hair looking grey and you spending so much money and time on coloring your hair, there is so much of conversation and so much of heavy conversation going around it. So commonly I have seen so many females do it, but still they feel that a sulfate free shampoo is an expensive product, and they do not, though everybody, I think today there is so much awareness being spread about using sulfate free shampoos. Everybody knows that a sulfate free shampoo is a better choice, but because they do not go deeper, get the entire knowledge, and many people are still using the regular shampoos which contains a lot of sulfates, and that kind of shampoo is going to make your color wash out faster, especially if you're using certain bright colors or certain colors which have a tendency to wash out, and you may have to color again and again. And like I told you, color does, it's a known devil. So I'm repeating certain words because I want to hammer it into your head, and I want you to develop that comfort zone with it, that it's a known devil. Fine, it's a devil, but I mean, we sometimes have devils in our life, but we're quite okay with them because we know them and we know how to handle them. We know the worst they can misbehave and we know how to handle them. So then there is enough study done about color. In fact, in the last decade, there are so many changes that have happened in the world of color. No PPD, no ammonia, really healthy. Some of the colors even have some added protein in them that coats the hair, so it's not all that bad. But yes, once you have started coloring your hair, once you've started visiting salons too often, once you started using some kind of heat styling is very bad. The more you can stay away from hair dryers, the more you can stay away from heat styling. For that matter, I say even the more you can stay away from washing your hair with hot water, your hair is going to be more and more healthy. So then, but if your lifestyle, if you, the way you like to present yourself involves a lot of heat styling, I would recommend you make sure that you're taking a lot of protein in your diet, because heat styling is going to damage the hair protein. So eating right, eating a lot of protein, eating protein supplements if that makes sense to you, adding collagen powders which are the elastic protein and which can actually give you a good texture to the hair. So making certain such changes is a very good idea. Also having hair vitamins. So hair vitamins are micronutrients and trace elements. So micronutrients and trace elements are like biotin, selenium, zinc, calcium pantothenate. So since there is so much conversation happening, people are reading, even the newspapers are carrying wellness articles, you might have heard these names. So these are not very easily found from food, or even if they are easily found from food, they are more found from food that is not cooked. And I don't think many of us are making it a point to mindfully eat a portion of raw food in our everyday life. We may eat it on and off, but very few people, I can be frank with you, we friends here, so I can tell you that we do not have the discipline to mindfully eat. In fact, a lot of times we're not even eating on time, or we're not eating quite erratically. So I would definitely recommend that if you feel that your hair has started turning grey earlier than the other people, I would recommend that you take cognizance of the fact that your hair needs a little extra care, your hair needs a little extra pampering, and the easiest way to pamper it is with a hair multivitamin tablet at regular intervals. So what are the other things I want to talk to you about graying of hair? So is graying of hair mainly genetic? Yes, graying of hair is mainly genetic. You are going to gray. So each one of us has a way of aging. In fact, you see that as a person from their 20s as they start going into 30s, and there are a lot of body changes which are happening, like the way the figure is, the way the skin pigmentation is. We are able to say that everybody ages like their parents did age. They may be from the mother's side or the father's side or a combination. But if you see somebody who has a heavy tendency to pigmentation, you generally see that it is there in the other members of their family too. If you see somebody who has very fat arms, or who has a tendency to put on a lot of weight on their hips, so people have these kind of tendencies on where they accumulate heat. And if you see these kind of tendencies run in the family. Similarly, premature graying is also something that has a heredity predisposition. So it's not a disease, it is not something that is unhealthy. That's the way the body ages, and that is a predisposition. So then if you feel that you have a Thank you, Darshana. And I have a master class which is a 5-hour videos which I have on a special platform called Teachable. That is by invitation only. So I would request you, Darshana, to send me a mail, and we will take this conversation forward. So I request you to get in touch with me, because I might forget this, and I'm sorry, because there's so much conversation sometimes that happens that I want to put the responsibility on you. Send me a mail and I will gift you the masterclass, and you are going to love it, because everybody who loves knowledge has come back saying that this is such a holistic, comprehensive thing, and you are an action taker. You've already started taking this. So I would request you to get in touch with me on mail and just tell me that please give me access to the masterclass, and it will be absolutely my pleasure to share those pearls of wisdom with you. So now coming to the last two things that we have to talk. So if you have joined in late, I would want you to go and listen to this conversation completely, because I think it's been quite a powerful conversation where we have spoken about things that people have believed, which we also know makes no sense. But then somehow, we all are emotional creatures, and many times we just cling on to things. I mean, if we have to disassociate the emotions from it and just think logically, we know that this makes no sense at all, but still we are clinging on to things that make no sense, which is happening to all of us, irrespective of our age, irrespective of our qualification. We all have that silly way of clinging on to something that makes no sense, and which is perfectly all right. But if it is causing a stress in your life, you need to just go through the facts and find out what you're clinging on to. Is it really damaging you by stressing you at some level? Is it really damaging you by putting you in inaction? And you will have to let go of those things. So finally, we have to accept that our graying has a lot to do with our genetic predisposition. So if we have seen that our mom or our dad or somebody in our family who we are closely related to also had early graying, we might have early graying, and we might sometimes just have to make peace with it and either live with those grays or find a way that is not very harmful, that is a known devil approach to getting rid of those grays. Also, stress can cause grays, but if you feel that stress is causing grays because you were suddenly stressful, so if somebody starts saying that I had a lot of tension because somebody in my family was sick, I know that when somebody in your family is sick, it is extremely stressful. Anybody who's had a loved one who's sick knows how much stress that one thing can be. But if there is something which is highly stressful, like for entrepreneurs, I think a few months of Corona, initially when there was absolutely no clarity on what impact it is going to do to the business, I think 2 to 3 months at that time was insanely stressful. But this kind of insane stress does not cause hair graying. So yes, stress is one of the reasons for hair graying, because stress is one of the reasons for aging. So if you have stress, it is going to impact your hormones, it is going to impact your circulation, it is going to impact your absorption and assimilation. So stress is going to cause all signs of aging, including premature graying. But then it is not the short-term stress which causes premature graying. It's a mindset to not having good coping mechanisms. It's a mindset to not being able to eliminate stress, Or sometimes, I think I use the word eliminate stress very, very wrongly, because still there is life, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be new situations, there are going to be need to deal with the unknown, and every time you need to face these challenges where you might fail, you might feel stressful. So there is no eliminating stress from my life or your life, but yes, we can develop coping mechanisms which help us deal with stress better. So acute stress is something which all of us go through few times in our life, and probably that kind of acute stress is something that we will not be able to do much about, but that's not the stress which causes a lot of aging in your body, or that's not the stress which causes a lot of damage in your body. Living with stress or chronic stress and not having coping mechanisms for the stress. So one day I think we will have a live, probably next week itself, so that will be like a more like a casual live where we will talk about coping mechanisms for stress. Though it is not directly from the medical textbooks, it is more from life itself, but I think it's a very, very relevant topic. And since I am dealing with so many men and women, and they are sharing with me their personal lives as a doctor, people do share their personal lives with us, and as I see so many of them in very, very high flying places, very, very educated, but then they do not have healthy stress coping mechanisms. So I think next week on Tuesday we will talk about stress coping mechanism. It's an out of the box topic, but I would definitely love to have this conversation, because there will definitely be some pop moments or some light bulb moments for you where you probably just laugh at yourself, and then as I tell you that these are the ways that generally we deal with stress, you will know that yes, this is me too. And then once you are aware that this is you too, you will be able to make a choice that you don't want to do that anymore. So coming to the last point, myth number 5 is that eating the wrong foods is, so I won't call it a myth. So today's topic was, is it a fact or a myth? So plucking your hair and two will grow back is a myth. If you're graying in your 35, you will call it premature graying. That is a myth too. If you start coloring your hair will grow gray a lot more faster. That is a myth too. Hair loss is mainly hereditary. You may have a disposition. If your family has early graying, there are chances that you may have early graying too. That is a fact, and that is something you got to accept. And the last thing is, diet and nutrition can make your hair turn gray if you're not eating right, if you're not absorbing right. Deficiency of biotin, deficiency of zinc, deficiency of calcium pantothenate can make, there is something called as PABA, certain B complex vitamins. If they are not enough in the body, they can give you certain white patches on the skin, they can give you certain they can give you white hair or gray hair also. So this is somewhere which we are talking last, but this is the most important point, understanding that by making changes in our diet and our lifestyle, we will be able to reduce the way our body has unfavorable changes. We will be able to slow down the way our body ages. So we will be talking about healthy hair diet. We have been speaking about healthy hair diet. That's going to be another 30-minute conversation minimum, and I do not want to overwhelm you with a lot of knowledge, but I want you to keep going back and saying whatever else you're doing, you need to ask yourself, you are what you eat. So are you eating right? By eating right, I do not mean dieting. I do not mean having a long list of rights and wrongs and do's and don'ts. I just mean knowing those 2 to 3 things, which that is at least a minimum that you need to do to pamper yourself. So we are doing 2 to 3 wrong things knowingly or unknowingly. So knowingly we need to do 2 to 3 things right that can really help our hair. And one thing I think you can easily do right, which I would recommend for everybody, I recommend for my own family members, I recommend for my clients, I recommend for all my loved ones, is starting a hair vitamin. It's easier said than done that I will eat right, because few days you do eat right, but then otherwise there are business commitments where the focus is on everything else except food. So many times we are eating at the best 5 stars, the best 7 stars, the best spread in front of us, but when it's a working lunch, when it is a business lunch, the last thing on our minds is eating or what we are eating. So it is just staying there and talking about the business challenges and business breakthroughs. I think at work, You may be in the best of the places, but even then you may not be thinking about food many times, especially if you're somebody who's all immersed into work. At the same time, we all go on vacations, we all need those breaks, and we say vacation mein to masti banta hai. Again, during vacations we're not eating right, so we have a million things happening in our life which do not allow us to stay mindful and eat right. So I would recommend a hair multivitamin. More about hair multivitamins next week. So next week we're going to have two powerful topics on hair on Tuesday and on Thursday. One, we are going to talk about coping mechanisms of stress that can slow down aging. Is that an interesting topic? And one more day we are going to talk about hair multivitamins, specific hair multivitamins, where I'm going to reveal to you what are cyclical vitamins, and you are going to love this. So you know that one of the things I keep saying is less is more. So I don't want to give you too many things when I give you as a vitamin. I don't want to give you a list of vitamins that you must eat. I believe in giving you a single vitamin that will give you everything you need, and that has been made possible from the pharma industry, as they have introduced a cyclical vitamin therapy. We'll be telling you more about this next week. Looking forward to see you again next week for a lot of powerful and useful knowledge, because finally powerful is great, but more important is useful and translating into some kind of action. Like Darshana said that she has started taking more nuts in her diet. So diet changes are diet changes are slow to show results. They are not an instant gratification thing, but I promise you, Darshana, if you stay consistent and persistent with these changes, 10 years from now or 5 years from now, you'll suddenly see that everybody around you is dealing with not so healthy skin and hair, and your skin and hair is, they say, nothing has changed at all. You are just like what you were a decade ago. I think when people are in their 40s and 50s and 60s, even hearing that you haven't changed at all, you're just like you were a decade ago, talks about they maintaining themselves well, talks about they respecting themselves well. So thank you everybody who's joined, shared your comments, asked your questions. Thank you everybody who's been asking me questions on mail, who's been asking me questions on chats, who has been saying that yes, we love to learn and we are aware that our knowledge is incomplete, and we are hungry for more knowledge, and we are hungry to apply this knowledge and be the best version of yourself. Thank you very much. All of you inspire me. So see you again on Tuesday, 9 p.m. with yet another fun conversation, which is coping mechanisms for stress. I am so excited that this topic came up in today's conversation. It's going to be very, very useful and interesting. Thank you so much.